So we're here again. It's In Conservation With. My name is David Lindo. I'm also known as the Urban Birder, and I've been struggling for months to work out where the best place is to look for the eye line. I don't know about you, but starting Zoom meetings, I started a year ago, like a lot of people, and it's just so difficult to know where to look. And then when you start looking in one spot, you become very cross-eyed. So if you see my eyes drifting as if I'm a man with two gods, you'll know that I'm suffering from zoomatitis, and that's the problem with Zoom. But welcome along anyway. Tonight's In Conservation With is with a very interesting artist by the name of Mandi Baykaa-Murray, and she'll be talking to us about her art, which involves feathers, which I find absolutely fascinating. Tonight is sponsored by Leica Sport Optics, so thank you very much for that. Mandi, how are you? And
Hi.
where on earth are you?
I'm really good, thank you. I am sitting in my little studio in North Somerset, which is about half an hour south of Bristol in the UK.
Beautiful. Because you know we've got an international audience, so I love when people
Yeah,
actually say exactly where they are, because then people can picture it or at least get on Google and have a look whilst we're talking.
yeah, get on the maps.
Exactly. Now let me just quickly tell the Zoomers about you, Mandi, because
Okay.
you have an interesting biog. You're also known as a feather lady, which is what I've advertised
Yeah.
you as. You're an award-winning wildlife artist inspired by the natural world, and best known, as we're going to talk about tonight, for painting feathers. You're a finalist of the David Shepherd Wildlife Artist of the Year in 2014, and you were shortlisted again in 2015. You were awarded the St Cuthbert's Mill Prize for the best work on paper at the TWASI annual exhibition. What is that?
Yeah, the TWASI is the Wildlife Arts Society International. It's a lovely group of people who are all passionate about wildlife and animals and conservation, and they all make art about it. And we have a big annual exhibition in Gloucester every year, and it's wonderful. Yeah, and a huge marquee on the lawn of Nature in Art, which is an actual wildlife art museum. Beautiful space, and yeah, so I joined them a few years ago, and yeah, it's lovely. It's a great bunch of people, and we all get together and have a lot of fun and put on an exhibition every year. So
Good, good. Well, you won the best work on paper at that TWASI annual
yeah,
exhibition in 2016, and the Christopher Parsons Award for Artistic Excellence.
I know that
And,
sounds great, doesn't it?
well, it does, in 2017, and being highly recommended in recent years as well. So in 2017, you were invited to be artist in residence for a week at the Nature in Art in Gloucester, where you exhibited your feathers and demonstrated your painting techniques, which hopefully we'll see some of tonight. This has led to a successful exhibition at the Wildfowl and Wetlands Trust in Slimbridge in Gloucestershire, where you've raised valuable funds for them. You're a regular exhibitor at the EWA, which is the Exhibition of Wildlife Art, and other annual events, including Rutland, the former used to be Bird Fair,
Yeah.
which hasn't operated for the last, this year will be the last couple of years now. And the solo exhibition at the WWT, the Wildfowl and Wetlands Trust in London in 2020. So birds of prey are your favourite subject, a source of intrigue, as you say, and inspiration, with their intense eyes and sharp talons and their very beautiful feathers, which we'll talk about. You're also a keen photographer, and you prefer to work from your own personal experiences using your own reference photos, taken either on local walks or around in the countryside. You love all animals. You also enjoy painting domestic animals, and you do pet portrait commissions as well. So that's you in a nutshell.
Yeah.
But what I'd like to know, I mean, obviously many people here may not know you at all, and I've been actually following you on Twitter for some time, and not Twitter, no, actually on
Instagram,
Instagram.
innit? Yeah, I don't do Twitter.
Yeah, Instagram, just testing. And I must say that one of the Zoomers in the audience, Shailesh Patel, he's the man that actually sort of pointed me in your direction, because I did think about you, but it was in my distant brain. and then I suddenly got sharpened up by Shailesh, and thank you very much for coming.
Good man, Shailesh.
But let me ask you, I always ask this question because there was a time when Picasso couldn't paint. Okay, so what was how did you get into this? I mean, were you born with a feather in your hand?
That'd be lovely, wouldn't it? I've always loved drawing and colouring in and painting, and ever since I can remember. I did loved art at school, and I did do art at college a long time ago, but I've never really done anything with it other than paint Disney characters around my children's bedrooms when they were little, and just do whatever, until in 2009 I was taking my little girl to a birthday party and dropped her off in this ball pit, went outside, and there was a marquee with a falconer and his birds of prey, and I went up because I'd never seen an owl in real life up close before, and this owl just looked actually into me. He didn't look at me, he looked right through me, and it was just incredible, and it just did something to me. And sort of I didn't have a camera with me because I wasn't prepared for anything like that, and I sort of got chatting with the falconer and his wife and said, oh, can I come back another day and take some photos, please? Because at that time I was much more into photography. And he said, yeah, whenever you like. He said, I'm here every day. And literally I probably went there about 3 or 4 times a week. Fell in love with the birds. I got involved with, he was sort of training them up. There were a new team, a new falconry team. And I just fell in love with these birds. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, they're kind of like the big cats of the bird world. They suck you in because they're gorgeous and they look soft and fluffy and beautiful, but they're like deadly weapons. And I just got absolutely inspired and intrigued by them, and managed to wangle my way into a sort of a weekend job there at the Falconry Centre. And after about 6 months to a year of just being completely obsessed with taking photographs of them, and I was just in my element. I was just happy. They were whizzing around and they were posing for me, and they were just gorgeous. Something inside me said, oh, I want to paint them, I want to draw them, and out of nowhere came these paintings of these birds. In fact, this one behind me, this is Wooly, and he is the owl that looked into me the very first day. And this is a really, really early painting, actually. This is from about 2012, so a couple of years after I'd met them. And it literally went from there. So it really did just change my whole life. And yeah, I haven't looked back since. And the feathers came once I was working with the birds. I used to go in them every weekend, and my first job, which was my favourite job, which was to clean them out, because you'd go in with a hose pipe and hose the aviaries down, and I couldn't bring myself to throw the feathers away. All their molted feathers would be on the floor, and I'd be picking them all up and stuffing them in my pockets, taking them home. And over a couple of years, the painting of the birds kind of developed and grew, and I gradually got brave and showed a couple of friends and family what I was doing, and they were going, wow, that's amazing. And I started just to enter very local art exhibitions and things, and got my confidence up, I suppose. And then all the time, I know you've interviewed Kate Maguire. Kate Maguire is an amazing sculptor whose work I was aware of. I think she was on Spring Watch or something back then, one show, and I was just blown away by her work with the feathers and everything. And I thought, oh, I'd love to do something with feathers, but I had no idea what. And then one day the falconer came in and he said, oh, I've got something to show you, Mandi, you're gonna love this. And I was like, what have you got? Got his phone out and he opened it up and he showed me a photograph of a painted feather. And as my jaw hit the floor, like, whoa, how on earth would you do that? He said, there you go, that's what you could do with the feathers. He said, go home and try it. And I did, and yeah, that's it really. I haven't looked back. So that is how I got to sort of where I am now.
So you got into this whole thing quite late. I mean, did you have an interest in nature before then? Was there anything obvious?
Yeah, I always loved animals and nature. I mean, I grew up in Cornwall, and we lived on a small holiday. So our bungalow was in the middle of 7 fields, and I opened my bedroom curtains in the morning, and the horses and cows would be lined up waiting for their breakfast, and off I'd go and feed them first. And we lived, and there were barn owls and kestrels and buzzards, and they were just there. I mean, as a kid, I was 10, and I just took it all for granted. So I've always loved that. But I was pony mad. I mean, I just lived for ponies when I was a kid, and so I draw my ponies, little, dogs, cats, whatever, and that was what I would be drawing. So I've always loved animals, but I was never really birdie or a birder. I loved them, but it was horses and dogs and cats that had my heart when I was younger. But meeting these birds of prey 10, 12 years ago, it just did something to me, just changed me. So they're incredible.
Do you subscribe to the notion that all kids can draw and then it's beaten out of them when they get older?
I think everyone can draw, and little kids draw without trying and without thinking, and then when they go to school, I don't think it's bashed out of them at school. I just think as you grow up, you become very of what you do, and you compare yourself to people, and some people are more natural at it than others, but anyone can learn. But I think some people have a natural inclination to do that. It's a bit like if you're good at maths or good at music, which I'm not good at either of those.
Okay. Well, I mean, for those who are unfamiliar with your work, and for those who kind of are looking at this, especially in the future on YouTube, thinking, what do you mean painting on feathers? Maybe now is a time for us to show the world at large the sort of stuff you can do. Yeah. So if I can share I'll share your presentation now, guys. Zoomers, if you're watching on gallery, switch now to speaker view, and I don't know where my thing's gone. There it is. Yeah. Switch now to speaker view, and you will see the whole presentation on the whole of your screen. I don't know why it's gone forward. So let's start here.
Right, I'm holding my phone now. Right,
by the way, before you go, Mandi even, Baykaa-Murray, that's an unusual surname.
Yeah.
Where does that come from? Where does the Baker bit come from?
That's homemade. That's a long story, but basically I was once Mrs. Baker, and when I got divorced, I just didn't want to be Mrs. Baker anymore. But I had 2 little girls, and I wanted to still be Mandi Baker. And my mum came up with a brilliant idea of spelling it this way. And it all came about from Vic and Bob's and they used to go and Mum said, wouldn't that be cool? And I thought, yeah, that's a bit mad. So I had it all done legally. I changed the spelling so it's phonetic, and that's how it came about. And and I've since remarried, and Nick kind of knew how important it was to me, so we just joined it all together, and now we're Baykaa-Murray. So yeah,
it's pretty cool.
There we go.
No, it's pretty cool. Yeah. I like it. That's one thing I
it's
kind
memorable.
of wondered about. Absolutely.
Right. So these 2 are the very first paintings I did. Well, after I met those owls and the birds of prey, the one on the left is a Chilean blue eagle buzzard, and he was called Alfonso, and I absolutely fell in love with him. He was very young, he was only a few months old, about 9 months old. Absolutely gorgeous. I'd never seen anything like it. And when I was there, I had really close access to these birds, and I took so many photos of them. And these 2, I did a series of all the flying team as they were then. And I did these portraits in acrylic, and I just didn't know that I could paint like that. I didn't realise I could paint an owl and it would look like an owl. And I did, and I sort of tentatively showed a friend, and he went, "Oh, that's a really nice photo." And I thought, "Oh my God, it looks like an owl. I've done that. That was me." So that kind of gave me confidence to carry on. So that was my starting point, really. So if you go to the next one, so after I been doing these what I call headshots, because I was coming at it from like a portrait photographer's mindset at the time, because at that time I was just doing like baby portraits and things. These then I wanted to put the bird like into some kind of context of to where it would be in the wild. So that's how these two came about. The one on the left was an acrylic with a watercolor background, was trying to be a bit loose and arty, and the one on the right is acrylic on canvas. And that was probably the hardest one I've ever done. I don't like painting great grey owls anymore because it's really, really difficult, but yeah, I did that one.
What was your reference points?
The reference was the photos I'd taken.
Oh, you actually took these photos?
Flying.
Okay.
Yeah, I take all. Yeah, this, when I said earlier, you read out that I like it to be from my own experience and my photos. I like, that's it. That's all part of it. It's all my experience. I'm just kind of sharing what I've seen and it makes me feel amazing to see these things, and I kind of want to put it into a picture so that other people can see it and enjoy it as well. So yeah, again, quite early. Those from about 2013, I think. Yeah. So yeah. So next one. This is my very first painting on a feather ever, and I've been collecting all these amazing bird of prey feathers, which are patterned and coloured and barred and everything. And somebody had very kindly given me a handful of goose feathers, which were stiff and brown and boring, and I kind of put them in a jar at home and just sort of left them there, and they weren't really sort of exciting and exquisite like my fancy bird of prey feathers. But when Gary had shown me the picture of the painted feather that inspired it all, I kind of thought, I've got those brown ones at home, I can use those. So this was it. And it's really basic and really simple, and I think this is just in black and white. I was really didn't really have a clue what on earth to do. I just thought, I've got to just suck it and see, really. So but I've got this one still. It's framed in a little frame downstairs, and it's quite special because it was the first one I ever did, and yeah, I've still got it.
It's quite a moody shot, isn't it, really, against a brown background?
Yeah, and it's actually, I've got it, it's shown here on an angle. I've actually framed it vertical because the peregrine was kind of cocking his head when I was watching him, so he was sort of doing that head tilt thing. So yeah. So next one. All right, so these are a series of paintings. I don't just paint on feathers. I exhibit my feathers because people sort of want to see them, but for my own kind of exploration and experimentation, I try all sorts of things. So this is just a little set of different things I've done over the years. There's acrylics and watercolors and pencils and all sorts of stuff going on there. So it's just to sort of show that when I feel like a change, it's like a change is like a rest. It's like you have something different. I might, I love the big cats. I love rhinos. I love all wildlife, but it's nice to have something different to look at and think about, and a different texture and a different technique. And it's like having a little break. So when I come back to my feathers, they're all fresh again. So
yeah, good shout.
And there it is. Ta-da! This was my big moment, the one that got selected for the David Shepherd back in 2014, and that was when I kind of thought, I can do this. I can be an artist, because if I've got into there, that's really cool. Yeah. And it went into the exhibition in the Mall Galleries in London, and I went up there and I actually met David Shepherd. I was really brave. Someone said to me, "You do know you've got to go and shake his hand, don't you?" I was like, "What?" So I did. I went up to him and sort of waited patiently, and then sort of said, "Oh, hello," and had a little chat with him. And yeah, so, and that one sold, and I just kind of really, really gave me the absolute just confidence to think I can be an artist and say it, and not just dream about it. So
yeah. There's two things I want to say. Firstly, I like the fact that because you think about, or when you start thinking about painting on a feather, you imagine the feather to be perfect. So I love the fact that it's all kind of what the way it is in the bottom part of the feather.
Raggedy.
It adds to the actual to the image very much.
This one was actually I do that isn't on a real feather. So what I also do is I print feathers onto paper. Because when I was at college, I did a printmaking masters. So I specialised in printmaking through fine art. So this is another a different technique again. So I've got a real feather, inked it up and printed it onto paper, and then I've painted onto the print. So it took me a while to actually realise that the real feather thing is kind of a wow factor that people like. But because this was the one that got into the David Shepherd, I kind of took these for a while as being my best. But I do both. So and I'm getting more happy with it. Doesn't matter what I do, I can do whatever I want, as I go along. But yeah, so this was and I've used it now as my logo because it's just dead special,
Okay. And for those who may not know who David Shepherd is, do you want to tell us who he is?
Oh God, he's probably one of the most famous and amazing wildlife artists in the history of the world. In the UK, he sadly died a couple of years ago, but he's just painted so many amazing paintings, and he's set up this huge foundation to raise money for conservation and trying to save the elephants and all sorts of animals actually. Every year there's a huge, beautiful exhibition in London at the Mel Galleries, and it's like lottery really. You enter, all the entry fees go to conservation, so it's a really good thing to do. But to get picked, it's sort of like, oh, it's just brilliant. It's the best feeling in the world. And there's a big exhibition up there, and all the big names go and make loads of money for conservation, and it's a real kind of feather in your cap to get in there. So it just highlight of my life really. Oh right, so I've been really lucky to get to go to Africa on safari several times. First time I went was for my 40th birthday, and it was just the best thing in the world ever, and I've managed to go again a few times. But out there, when you get to sort of see it in the raw and in life, it's just there's no words. It's just amazing. And when did I go? 2017 these ones were done from. I went to Zambia, and by then, like now, I'm going. When the first time when I was 40 and I went to Africa, it was about the lions and the elephants and the big beasties. And we hooked up with another couple while we were there, and they were birders. And I was out in the middle of Africa. Why are you looking for little birds? What's the big deal? And because I was sort of still mind blown by elephants and lions and the big animals, and because 10 years on now, I'm going to Africa and I'm looking at the birds and just being blown away by them. But the eagles out there, I can't help myself because they're birds of prey and they're stunning and they're beautiful. But it really, the vultures, I'm struck by, they're being persecuted and they're so important, and they're actually so beautiful. I know everyone imagines them that they're dirty, vile and disease ridden, but they keep the world clean. They clean up the disease and they kind of sort all the mess out. And when you get to see them doing their thing, like picking a carcass, it's very gross. I don't see it like that. I think, they're just amazing. And I did my big five, which was the eagles, because that was what I was really excited about. And then I did my other big five, but did the V as the 5, but V for vultures. And yeah, did it. So these ones aren't on feathers or anything. They are done in a watercolor style, but with acrylic on watercolor paper, quite big. I think the sizes are on there. It's half imperial, I think, which is old school, for probably about as big as the thing behind me.
Wow.
So yeah, I got quite into my vultures a couple of years ago.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, safaris I've never been interested in, mostly because I didn't want to have someone take me and show me what they think I should be seeing.
Oh, right.
I like the idea of, I like looking at anything from the insects, flowers, all the way through
Yeah.
to the bigger
But
animals.
you get a good guide and you can do all of that.
Yeah, I've not
You
had a
know what
good
I mean?
guide ever yet. I mean, I was in it.
Oh,
I went to India once, and the guide was terrible. They're driving at practically 30 miles an hour, and I actually said to him,
oh no.
excuse me, are you going to a meeting? Are you?
Yeah,
What's happening? What's the rush? Slow down,
yeah,
So my experience
yeah.
hasn't been that great. But anyway,
No, I had one bad guide once who was a bit in a hurry like that, but most of the time, when they, I think what I found is when they realise, there's a lot of people do want to go herring from one little animal to the next, but we like to sit and watch and take in what's going on and just watch the behaviour and just sit and still and let it all go on. And the guides I've had have been really good. They seem to appreciate that, and let us kind of do our thing. So I've been lucky, been really lucky. Oh, a few more vultures. So now these are the vultures on the feathers. Now the two on the left, they're actually on real molted vulture feathers, which I was given from a friend who works in a falconry centre, as I wanted to do these specifically for an exhibition at Twazy. And I did think that middle one did get won something or other, one I highly commended. So again, that was still with me, just really wanting to sort of show the beautiful side, because to me they are beautiful. And I got invited to go to the European Vulture Convention in 2019. I couldn't go, sadly, but I sent some prints and cards over to them to try and sell to help raise the funds and things. But that was really cool to be involved with, like, indirectly. It's a shame I couldn't get there. So yeah. And what's next? All right, so this is another one where I've printed the feathers onto paper and then painted on the print. And it's interesting that you picked up on it earlier about the raggedy edges, and when you paint on an actual real feather, you're very limited to its shape and form and direction, because obviously if you know birds, they've got left-handed feathers and right-handed feathers, and some are straight and they all curve, they're contoured to fit around the body, and that's sort of something you have to work with. But when I do this technique and print onto paper, I can sort of manipulate them a bit more as to how I want it to look. So it was sort of something I was experimenting with when I was doing these.
yeah, that's beautiful.
Thank you.
Have you seen these owls in real life?
Yeah,
Wild.
yeah, all of them. Everything I paint, I've seen, unless it's something like, if it's a commission, and I haven't seen, and I'll buy a photo from somebody. But most 99.9% of everything I paint is I've seen with my own eyes and taken my own photos. So, yeah.
I've yet to see a snowy owl myself. I'm not going to twitch it. I'm going to see one naturally, but
yeah, no, I haven't seen it in the wild. But obviously, working at the Falconry Centre, I had like really good access to some of these birds. So, and I do go out on days, and I sit out every day with the dog, but I do go on days where I can go and see these birds as well. So this is a little dabble into coloured pencil work. I've got a really good friend who is an amazing coloured pencil artist, and it blows me away what she can do with pencils. And I kind of thought I need to have a go at this just to see. And we went on another workshop with a different guy, Adam Willett, and my friend is called Lisa Ann Watkins. She's just amazing. So I what did we do? I think we did a puffin on his workshop, and I came home and I thought, I've got to translate this into a barn owl because I love the barn owls. So I did this series, just kind of to try something different and see if I could do it. And I'm quite fond of these, actually. Quite like them because it's something I didn't think I could do.
So it sounds like you're forever pushing your boundaries.
Try, yeah. I always want to learn, always really keen to just try different stuff. And it's not to copy what other people do, but when you watch other people work, you just always learn something that you can take a little snippet back and, you know, squish it into what you do and push a little bit. So yeah, I'm fascinated by watching other people working. So this is kind of more current. Maybe this last year I've done these. When I started, I think I told you I was using the stiff goose wing feathers, the primary feathers, because they're really firm, quite easy to work on. They didn't wobble and go everywhere. And over the last few years, I've started to use softer feathers and fluffier feathers, and it sort of adds to that lightness and just it's harder. It is a lot harder, and you have to be a lot more gentle, but I really like these soft fluffy feathers, and I think they just look so much more delicate. So that was a challenge, and I kind of nailed that now. So, you know, it's always something to learn. Yeah.
So whose feathers are these?
These are from the local lake. There's a lake about 10-15 minutes away, and they've got swans and geese and ducks on it, and I haven't been there much this year, obviously with lockdown, but previous years I go around there quite a lot, and I just pick up everything that's molted off the floor. And so these are fluffy swan feathers, and I bring them home and wash them and clean them and get them ready, and there they are. So yeah, I've got 3 canvases. So these are, yeah, last year's as well. A couple that where did we go? The red kite. Cotswold. We went with Twazzy, the Wildlife Arts Society. They do some lovely day trips. So we went off to the Cotswold Falconry Centre for the day, and I took that photo there, and we watched them flying and everything. They're amazing, beautiful birds. And the golden eagle, actually, I think he was there as well, same place. So yeah. These are on real feathers, these ones. I think it's duck feathers from the lake on the left-hand side, and they're just pigeon feathers, the other one. But, you know, everyone moans about pigeons, but who knows?
Are you still with us, Mandi?
Right. Still, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're just juttering occasionally, but anyway.
Okay. So this one I painted in lockdown. I kind of hit a brick wall really at the beginning of lockdown. It was a bit hard. With all the exhibitions got cancelled, and I kind of lost a bit of motivation because it seemed a bit pointless. But I then found my mojo again and picked up, and I started doing some really colourful barn owls. You probably realise that I love barn owls. I love painting barn owls. They're just gorgeous. So this is in a sort of a turquoisey blue, which to me gave it a moonlit feel. I was going to show you, I went later on in a minute, I'll show you the scale. This is on 3 like really big turkey feathers. So this is actually quite a big painting for feathers. Yeah, I'll show you the scale of that in a little while. And then, yeah, lockdown happened, didn't it? And a little while. And then I did I picked up an online course. It was in abstract art, which went back to my college days, some sort of 25 whatever years ago. And I loved it. It just allowed me to just splosh colour around and make marks for the sake of mark making without thinking about coming up with a finished picture or being a bird or anything. And I accidentally ordered some wrong ink. I ordered this is alcohol ink, and I thought I ordered acrylic ink. And I was sitting there one day thinking, I wonder what this stuff does. And it does this. It is amazing. It's got a mind of its own. It's completely bonkers. It's really vibrant and lovely. And it kind of gave me a chance, I want to say, like painting outside the lines. It allowed me to really like loosen up. And I know they look like the birds they are, but it was sort of just playing with movement and texture a bit, and I really enjoy it. So I did a whole series in these inks, and again, it's a bit like having a rest from the feathers and doing something different, and then you come back to the feathers and it keeps it all fresh. So
Yeah,
I really enjoyed this
these
medium.
are really beautiful, actually. How long did it take you to do these individually?
These are actually fairly quick because it's so mad, and this meat is like it's alcohol based ink, so it evaporates really quickly. But if you squirt it with this isopropyl alcohol, which it just moves on the paper, it's bonkers. So they're actually quite quick. I don't know, maybe like hour and a half or something. And there's two stages actually. The ones on the right with the colour in the background, I do the backgrounds first, all kind of loose and wishy-washy, and then paint into them once the background had sort of dried. So
So that's what comes first. It's almost like
did with these ones.
Right. So
Yeah.
it's not chicken and egg scenario. It's actually you do the background and then paint the detail in afterwards.
Yeah, I did with these ones. Yeah.
Yeah. Very nice.
So this is the one on the left is probably one of my most recent ones, which I've just done the last month or so. We've actually got some real live exhibitions hopefully going ahead this year. So I sent that one off. I'm really chuffed that I got into the exhibition of wildlife art again this year. That's up near Liverpool. It's a lovely exhibition to be part of. So that one will be going up there. And the little tiny one in the middle, that's kind of to give you a scale, that's sort of a couple of inches big, that actual hole. There's two tiny feathers stuck together. And that one on the left is probably about 12 or 14 inches tall in real life. So somebody challenged me to do a miniature one, and I thought, all right, have a little go. It's a pain, it's difficult and tricky, but did it. The kite, I went to Wales just before lockdown last year. I went over to Wales to see the kites at that Gigwin farm, where they've, the success story where they've rehabilitated them all and they're all going wild and breeding, and it was really lovely. And I actually spent some time out in the Welsh mountains, and it was so stunning. I've never sort of done actually I did once I've done a landscape on a feather, but it's not something I do as a rule. And being out there in that amazing scenery with those birds just soaring overhead, going round and round and swooping and diving, and I kind of decided to combine the two. So that's how that came about.
That's very nice.
Oh yeah, this is another very, very recent one. So this is sort of up to date. This it's blue and gold macaw feathers, and I just love the colours for painting kingfishers on. And this is a little pair I did, and I'm really happy that one. I like that one.
That's beautiful.
So yeah, these are the new ones. No, I'm not. Oh, wait, is there one left? No. Okay, so there's another recent one. This is again on huge turkey feathers. I've got that one here. I'm going to show you in a minute how big it is, because I've become aware. In lockdown, I did some really big, colourful owls on really big feathers, and it's really difficult for people who haven't seen them in real life to judge any scale. So, and it wasn't until a friend pointed it out. She said, "Oh, I didn't realise. I thought that I thought I was doing something really different, and everyone else thought they were exactly the same as I was doing." So, I'll point out the scale in a minute when the slideshow's over. So. One more, I'm not sure. Right, yeah. This one, I don't know, nobody's actually asked any questions yet, but I get, when I'm exhibiting and talking to people at like bird fair and places, I just get people sort of say to me, "Oh, the detail in your work is amazing." And it's really, I find it kind of funny because I see myself as quite a loose, abstract, not abstract, but impressionistic painter. And I hope the slide shows that I call it carefully placed splodges in a painterly style, rather than I don't actually paint perfect. It's weird. I don't know how to say how I do it, because it's what comes out of my brush. But everybody says it, and I just thought I'd preempt that. So there we go. I think that's the end of the slideshow.
Okay, let's have a look. Is it? Yeah, it certainly is.
Put this back.
Yeah. Well, that was fascinating. Thank you for that, Mandi. It's really interesting to see the variety of work that you do. Just out of interest, when it comes to feathers, you work with feathers, obviously. Does that mean that you kind of then become interested in feathers as a sort of a structure, and you kind of loosely become an expert on feathers?
I'm definitely not an expert on them, but I'm obsessed with them. I think they're absolutely beautiful. And if I see one, I'll pick it up and keep it. They're everywhere. We walk through the city centre and there'll be feathers everywhere. So yeah, I do pick them up. I'm not brilliant at like recognising what bird it's from all the time, but you do sort of have. You do pick up, like I know what a turkey feather is by looking at it, and a goose feather, and pigeon feathers, and blackbird feathers, and some of the ones I find are tiny. I've found little tiny like goldfinch feathers with a little yellow flash on them and things. So your eyes get tuned in to seeing things, and I'm always on the lookout when I'm out.
And can you work with feathers that are that small, like goldfinch feathers, or?
I've never. I'd need probably a whole wing's worth of a goldfinch feather. I'd need a goldfinch wing or something. But I have done some teeny tiny little duck feathers before, which they're sort of about a couple of inches maybe. So I have done that, but very fiddly.
Okay, well, we're kind of quite keen to work out how you actually do your stuff. So can you flip your camera? Let's have a look at
the phone.
Yeah. So we can see.
Bear with me.
Because I know there's lots of questions probably coming. Like, for example, how long does it take to do an average piece?
How long? How long is a piece of string? That's the answer to that question. That's easy. I don't know. They're all different. Right. Can you see?
Yes.
This. Okay. So here's a few little feathers. These are I think these are goose or from the lake, or immature swans, these ones. There's some little duck feathers. So what I would do to start off, it's really quite boring, but I'll do an owl just to show you something. I'll use this one. So just to start off, I give myself a base with a little bit of white paint on these darker feathers. It's just nice to get can you see that?
Yeah, very clearly.
So really, I just really gently with this first layer, I put a little layer of white down, so that basically if I paint it straight on black, the black absorbs so much colour.
So,
and it's really gentle, kind of go with the direction of the little feathery bits, the little barbules.
Yeah. So when you do a piece like this, how long does it last? I mean, is it one of those things you need to keep in an airtight frame?
I keep everything in Ziploc bags to keep it. It's just moths, really. They'll last and last and last and last forever. It's not like a leaf that would sort of rot, maybe. But they are susceptible to moths and things. So I prep them, and people are probably going to want to know what I do. So if I find a bunch of feathers, every now and again when I've got a little batch together, I give them a wash and a shampoo, it's just the same with our hair.
Well, not my hair, by the way.
So just swish them around in some shampoo, rinse them out, dry them. If it's a nice sunny day, I literally leave them outside in a box so they can't fly away. If it's windy, they will blow away on the breeze. Let them air dry in the sun. If it's not a nice sunny day, just I can stick them in a towel on the radiator, or if I'm in a hurry, I could give it a blow dry with a hairdryer. And and they are clean. And the other thing I stick them in the deep freeze, not like the indoor freezer, but a deep freeze, and that would kill anything that little mites or little whatever's that might be living in them.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about parasites,
Yeah.
but I thought maybe the shampoo kills them.
That's the way I deal with them. Is I chuck everything in the deep freeze for at least 48 hours as a minimum, but usually I leave them in for a few weeks because I do a batch and then forget about them and come back to them. So this is like the boring bit, okay? But it's the trickiest bit. This is relatively firm feather, so it's still, so it's a case of going with the feather to keep it together. You can see it's sort of separating a bit there. You can coax it to zip up, but I quite like these raggedy edges. I think it gives it.
No, it definitely adds to it. So when you get commissions, do people commission you species specific, or have you ever had a commission where someone said to you, "I want my painting done on an eagle feather. I want it on a wing feather, please"?
You have to be really careful. So that people who own their own birds, falconers, or if they've got a macaw or whatever they have, that's fine, and I can use their feathers from their birds. I can't sell our native bird of prey feathers without the license that a falconer would need, so it's an A10 license. So I don't use them because I could go and get a license, but it's all hassle and money and red tape, so I just choose not to. So I use feathers that I've found that I know I don't need a license for. If someone's got their own barn owl and they've got its license and it's molted a feather, I say, well, you lend me your feather and I'll paint your portrait on it, which you pay me for, and then you can have your feather back in a frame with a painting on it. And that's how I get around that. So it's sort of 50-50 really. Some commissions are people who want their bird on its feather, and I'm more than happy to do that. And other people just, they've seen what I do, or they just want, I've just done a goldfinch for a customer, and so or robins and things at Christmas. People are quite popular, so that tends to be that. But over the years, people have said to me, "Oh, you've been out there yanking feathers out of birds again," and I'm like, seriously? Yeah, I don't think so. You always get close enough.
You always get those people, don't you? How was, in terms of lockdown and this whole pandemic, how were you, and B, how was business? Did you find that people were booking or commissioning more stuff during lockdown?
Yeah. I personally was up and down like a yo-yo. It knocked me for 6, and then I kind of thought, I just get on with it and get over it, and then hit a pat. It was absolutely, for me, just disheartening. Everything got cancelled. Since I started doing this art business, every year I've just tried to. I'm going to let that one just dry now. That's the base, okay? That's going to be a barn owl, okay? Yeah. So that's just white acrylic paint. These are my paints. They're up here. I use these golden ones. They're really good quality. When I started, I used really cheap paint because it didn't matter. But now I sell my artwork, I think I need to use good quality materials. So this is a little kestrel that I just started. That's what I call blocked in. Can you see that?
If you put it back to where it was in the first place, on the it's a lot easier to see there. Yeah,
that's a really, really rough blocking in. I've done the little bit of white underneath. I've roughly blocked in where the colour's going to go. With these, it's just building up layers, really sort of a gentle build up of layers. And I start off rough and loose, as you can see, like that, and then gradually I'll work on it and add detail as I go. These brushes, these are my favourite shape. This is called a filbert brush. I don't know if you can put it in front of the white there.
Yeah,
It's sort of
see, yeah.
a rounded edged flat brush, so it's I just like them. They're not better than anything else, they're just what I like using. And then I've got this one, which is really it's a bit worn out. It's a filbert. No, it's not, it's a rigger, sorry, which is a long thin one, and these hold a lot of paint. So that's basically the two for this size feather. That's mostly what I would use. That one is a bit big and fluffy.
What do your mates think of you doing all this?
Do you know what? Most of my mates now are actually other artists, which is brilliant. I've got so many friends of people who.
Don't forget, by the way, sorry. By the way, we can't see you, by the way, so we might as well carry on with your work because we can't see your face when you're talking.
No, okay.
Most of your friends are artists?
Most of my friends now are artists, which is great because we all get it and we're all on the same wavelength. What other friends? I think they're pretty... I don't know how they feel about me, actually. I think they're quite pleased for me. They're happy for me that I'm doing what I enjoy and what I like. Yeah, I don't know. Have to ask them if there's anybody out there. Right, sorry. It's really hard chatting and painting at the same time. I usually sit here on my own, just doing my thing. So
yeah, I know. It must be hard to multitask.
Yeah.
In front of a live studio audience.
Yeah, don't tell me about them. I forgot about them.
So yeah, but this doing this really, I suppose, really makes you feel great, does it?
Yeah, it does.
Spiritually.
You know, I feel more like the happy little 10-year-old me that sort of didn't. When I do this is like the best of ever. It makes me happy. I mean, I can't believe I'm actually, I can sit here and do something that makes me happy, because life's sort of full of ups and downs, and it's, we've all had our ups and downs, and I've had a few of those in my life, and that the fact that I can now enjoy what I do. It's hard. I'm not saying it's not a doddle. It's really hard work. I mean, artists out there who, it's not all fun and games, and there's a lot of stuff that goes on that I just didn't even know about, and I'm still learning all the time.
Yeah, I'm sure you are.
But it's hard. It's really hard. You got to learn. You got to push yourself. I mean, promoting yourself. I'm not really very good at sort of blowing my own trumpet. And you have to learn how to kind of be out there. It's quite a solitary existence sitting at home painting, and I'm quite happy with that.
Yeah.
But then you've got to go out and promote yourself and stand at these shows and I don't know, learn to take a compliment without being embarrassed and things.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Well, we're running slightly short of time now, but I want to ask Emma Trehan.
Oh, yeah.
Emma, can you just come on and tell us what Mandi's like, and do you think she's a nutcase or whatever?
Well, I'm sitting here with my mother.
Hello, Emma.
Hi, everyone. Hi, David. Hi, Mandi. No, I only think she's a nutcase in the best sense of the word. No, so Mandi and I walked together, and we actually met over lockdown, walking the dog on the hill, and we became fast and firm friends. And I've just learned so much from her about her art and the way she approaches life. And she's just, I've got one of her pieces, I'm not in my house, I'm at my mum's, but I've got one of her pieces in my lounge, and every time I look at it, it just brings this sense of joy to me. And I sent another piece, one of her owls, to my brother in New Zealand for Christmas, so it's wonderful.
Fantastic.
I've got a David Shepherd.
There's a David Shepherd on the wall.
Fantastic.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm in great company.
Well, thank you very much, Emma, for that. Thank you for that. Now, listen, Mandi, can I ask you, whilst you're doing that, what is your favourite bird?
Yeah, oh God, it's got to be the barn owl. Honestly, it's probably whichever one is in front of me right at the time, but painting wise, especially, it's the barn owl. I think
Okay.
they're just exquisitely gorgeously, delicately beautiful.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And if you could be anywhere in the world, notwithstanding the current terrible situation we're in, where would you be right now?
I'd be in Africa.
It's a big place, Africa.
I'd be in, all right then, South Luangwa, on the Luangwa River with the bee eaters.
That's a
And
bit
the
too
eagles.
precise. Where's that?
Zambia.
Zambia, okay. Fantastic. All right. Whilst you just finish tickling that, let me just quickly tell you, Zoomers, what's coming up over the next few days. And I never know, actually. I need to refer to my my lineup here. Obviously, tonight we have Mandi. On Thursday, we got a lady who's been on actually last week talking about... last week she was talking about curlews. This week she'll be talking about the new potential GCSE for or on natural history. So she'll be talking about the work she's trying to do to get the government to take on this idea. So this is Mary Colwell on Thursday, the 1st of April. This is no joke. It's going to be a real thing on the 7 o'clock kickoff BST. On Monday next week, we have David Tippling, one of Britain's top bird photographers, and he's going to be talking about his work. And we have a load more people coming, just that we haven't put them on the website yet, so there's more to come. So, Mandi, at this stage, I would like to say to you, thank you very much for giving us a window into your feathery world. And we've really enjoyed watching you create your art and the art you've actually shown us tonight. So thank you so much for that.
I want to thank you very much for having me on. It's been really, really exciting. Lovely.
Good, that's beautiful. And Zoomers, as ever, it's a fantastic honour to have you here tonight to watch, or this afternoon, this morning, to watch Mandi work, as well as to hear what she has to say. So thank you very much for being there. I hope to hopefully see you again in the future. Please take care of yourselves, and don't forget to keep looking up.